everyone, welcome back. Today we are shining a light on the challenge in logistics that doesn't always make headlines, but quietly eats away at efficiency in almost every logistic operation. It's fragmentation. We can think about it as WMS here, TMS there, emails and notifications, spreadsheets everywhere. It's a patchwork that works until it doesn't. And when it breaks down, the cost is far more than just dollars. The cost is time, visibility, and trust. Joining me today to unpack this very important topic is Wolfgang Lechmaster, a global thought leader in supply chain industry, and one of the sharpest voices on how technology can transform logistics. Wolfgang, it's great to have you here.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, really appreciate it too. And let's kick off with the first question about our important topic today. Many shippers and carriers are juggling five, six different systems just to move one single load. From your perspective, what pain points are you seeing most often, and what's driving this fragmentation in the first place?
I believe that the fragmentation is driven by the cost of a whole system. So smaller companies start buying piece by piece, using also free software. So it's financially driven. When companies get larger, then the question is always best of breed or best of suite. Do you go for the patchwork and continue and have the best thing in everything? Or are you going for a seamless, complete solution? So it's, in fact, decisions that are taken that is driving this. The
Mhm.
patchwork is not without challenges. Patchwork uh, usually creates operational inefficiencies, meaning that data needs to be brought from one system to the other. This can happen through integration. Very often, this is done via tables, spreadsheets, or even re-entry. So that's one of the pain points. The other pain point is communication. Of course, if you have one platform, um, let's think just about you have one WhatsApp and then everything is fine, right? So everything is smooth and seamless. But if you have 10 WhatsApps, different systems you use, and we know I used WhatsApp, but I could also use others like Telegram
Yeah.
uh, or Viber. Yeah, when you have multiples, then it's getting more difficult. And this leads to the next pain point, which is visibility. Once you have one system or everything very well integrated, you can move to every part and every corner of the system and get your data. And that gives you the platform for a unique shared source of information and also the platform for seamless collaboration.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving parts from one system to another system is always a challenge. It's not even that it's difficult to do, but it's time consuming and definitely not what we want our experts, operational managers to spend time on, while there are much more important tasks and things to do. So, visibility and seamless communication within the system, uh, I can say one of the biggest. Forces behind this change, but some sales and executives call this system, the situation people uh, happen to be in, like a Frankenstein stack, when we have WMS, TMS, spreadsheets, emails, and it all stitched together. At what point do you think this setup stops working as a quick fix and start causing serious operational problems?
It's a very good question because there is no natural breakpoint or
Mm-hmm.
natural break point. Because if you can afford it, and you have very high margins, and you deal with the challenges we have mentioned before, you can go on forever and change and exchange data manually, etc. But usually you are facing a moment where you want to reduce cost, you want to become more efficient, you want to be able to integrate better, and then things get difficult. There's, of course, also the possibility that things suddenly are difficult to integrate. When we have multiple systems, we have to understand that these systems make changes. And if one system makes a change, suddenly the data transfer with another system may not work anymore. Then there are not only systems which you buy from the outside. Larger companies also have their own development, so they build their own tools. Also, this has to be maintained. With the own tools, you have also the challenge that sometimes it's one person or two people that have developed this, and of course, if they leave the company or retire, that creates a difficulty. When companies get larger, it's also more and more difficult to communicate with each other, and you need systems that help you to communicate. And of course, if you have the one Viber situation, then one platform situation, then you are better off than those companies that are siloed and need to use email and other or middleware or other means to
Mhm.
communicate. So it's a scale and complexity and margin uh, challenge which can drive the decision to go to something more integrated.
Mhm. Well, that's a very good positioning of the scaling. Completely agree with you here. Every part having your own system or having using the ready-made solution from the market has its own challenges, but it really depends on the traction and depends on the goals you put for your company. Yeah, understanding those limitations is very important. And you already touched the part about having when someone leaves their job, right? But there was the system, there is some period for onboarding, adaptation of the technologies, and executives often find it hard to get operations and IT teams on the same page, right? Especially when new technologies and digital tools are introduced. What do you think is the best way for logistic leaders to create real cross-functional alignment and tackle this fragmentation at its core instead of just masking it?
It is the implementation of one system. That's
Mhm.
the preference of many people. To get there is a process, especially if you have a larger company, to make the transition from a more fragmented world to a more harmonized world. You need, first of all, I'm a strong believer in this. You need a champion. You need a sponsor that says, we must do this and I will carry this through. This sponsorship can change over time, but has to be always very high up in the hierarchy. So you need a champion. That champion needs to bring all the people in the room that are affected, because suddenly you don't have a TMS to implement where you can say, okay, this is um, just one department. You have a whole company platform to implement. That means you need all the relevant functions in the room. And when you do this, you need to create and offer or co-develop a joint share vision. And to get there without too many bumps on the road, you need to make this team work. And that means you do not need only a champion, you need a project manager. It can be a project management office, and you need a process. you need to put in place a steering committee that helps to remove obstacle and align the top management. So that's a heavy undertaking, and it's not done once the software is selected or rolled out. I think it takes longer. The whole thing must be well up and running, and people need to be aware of that.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying it's not about software only solution, but also about the company direction in general, and a lot of that depends on the management. Well, I believe this is very deep topic, to be honest, and yeah, might require a different podcast for that actually. Yeah. Okay, and actually, I agree with you here. And in another question that I have for you is about digital twins. This is the concept that really excites me, and we know that in urban logistics they promise real-time visibility and simulation. Yet very few companies are experimenting with them. How can logistic players take the first step in applying digital twin thinking to connect their system? So instead of just applying things right away from the start, making that more like a concept before and after that, really moving forward to the implementation.
First, digital twin is a very abstract concept. So maybe we start there and explain that it is the uh, duplication of what is happening in supply chains, in companies, in the digital space. So you see the whole process from procurement to sale, after sale, and this touches upon the manufacturing and many other parts. So this is massive. It's a big beast, and this is also the reason why many companies shy away. In fact, the two
Mm-hmm.
things I mentioned, many don't understand it, and the others say it's just too big for us. And there are different digital twins. I tend to separate only two. There are only descriptive digital twins that describe what is happening, but there are also intelligent digital twins that can anticipate what is happening most probably, and they can also make suggestions and recommendations what to do about this, which is all about descriptive, predictive, and prescriptive um, um, analytics. So when we start doing this and when we start implementing it, once we have decided, yes, we go for it, then it should start small. It should start in one area. I can call this a value cell. Let's say we digitize our inventory, or we digitize or we digital twin our last mile operations. So you start with a well-defined area. And then you need to define not only the processes, but also you want to see results. So you need to define KPIs. So from this one value cell, you move to 1 quarter measurement. That's how
Mm-hmm.
I think about it. So you define your KPI, you look at the KPI once you have implemented it for about a quarter, and you see uh, what these changes, what the digital twin has done to your operations. And we are talking about data, and data is not so regular and so nice and so friendly. So there will be a lot of surprises along the way, and data discipline is very important. And once you have, this is the third point, once you have the proof that it's working, then you stabilize it and you move to the next value cell. So it's one cell, 1 quarter, and one proof, which brings you into the whole process.
Mm-hmm. So we can I can say assume that, or maybe summarize that for companies or people who are not aware, not very familiar with digital twins, it's better to use the approach step by step and really like decide on the areas, on the implementation, on the approach you should take on depending on the part of the logistics supply chain that you would like to transform, I can say, digitally, right?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you can later on do things in parallel, right? But when you start, I believe that we should select one high impact area, and last mile is one, inventory is one high impact area. Focus a team on this, and what we have previously described, the mobilization. So the team, the overall team which we have mobilized, that take an observer role and
Mm-hmm.
are informed about all the findings. It's a learning process.
Brilliant. And Volvan, you mentioned about part about the KPIs, and as we know, ultimately every investment comes down to the results. From your experience, what metrics really tell the story once companies unify their systems, and how should leaders think about ROI beyond just cost savings?
I think it's important when we take the digital twin, or we take the entire platform for a business. We also have to then look at KPIs that span across everything, right? Because otherwise, you look only at last mile, at inventory, at production, at
Mhm,
procurement, right? So it's important to have KPIs that stretch about across everything. So one of these KPIs is end-to-end supply chain cycle time. So do we optimize the entire process? Because when we look at this KPI, uh, then we should capture the time we gain due to better integrations between the different modules along the process. That's one KPI. Then you have dwell time. So
mhm,
because we have to wait, sometimes that data is transferred, or that some team and system realize that it should do something, um, that creates dwell time of things we purchase, dwell times of um, half finished goods, dwell times of finished goods. It's in the warehouse. So the dwell time is very important. Then we don't talk only about operational efficiencies. There is also resilience. So
mhm,
because we have this more holistic view, and what I haven't said so far is ideally we have a holistic view also across the entire supply chain, whether we fully control it or not. But if we have this holistic view, then we should also have um, better mean time to detect disruptions, and better mean time to resolve disruptions. So these
mhm,
are two additional KPIs which are about resilience. Then um, we said that customer expectations can force us to think about a more harmonized IT landscape. So we should see also in some situation higher customer satisfaction. And we should also think about the whole sustainability side. So
mhm,
measuring emissions, carbon footprints will be easier if we work in one environment. There is also something people should look at, and this is the workforce and adoption matrix. Because this is what I meant, that once it's implemented, it's not over. So we need to make sure that the people feel well with the system, that they use the system, that they are comfortable. with the recommendation. So recommendation acceptance rate is a KPI I would look at.
Mm-hmm.
Override patterns, which is very similar to the acceptance rate. And all this creates ROI, higher efficiency, um, better absorption and dealing with shocks, happier customers, happier employees. So the fluidity of the whole system should become better, and the system and the company should be able to better serve all the stakeholders involved.
Yeah, that's quite a lot. I can say quite a list of different KPIs and points which definitely every company which is considering digitalization or unification of their systems should take into account. Yeah, thank you very much, Wolfgang, for sharing this practical insights. Such really, I can say, very important thoughts from the hidden cost of fragmentation, from the churn. I can say it's a lot about the churn, about the adaptability and adoption of technologies, and how the smart digital tools and even digital twins can actually turn complexity into clarity for every stakeholder. That's a wrap for today's episode, for today's recording podcast. We will be back soon with more stories on how technology is reshaping the future of logistics.
It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, I hope we will see you again soon.